Hey there, Port Naz. This is Pastor Kristy, and I'm so glad to get to continue to share God's Word with you. We are in chapter 23 of Acts today, and yesterday Pastor Chad shared with you a little bit about his sister's son, which would have been his nephew, and what he did. He overheard the Jews plotting to kill Paul. So what he did was he took what he had heard to the commander. And so today we are going to carry on from that. And we are in chapter 23 still, starting at verse 23. And this is where there is an intervention. This man, now the commander, is told about what is going to take place and the plot against Paul, but he now takes action and intervenes. And I wonder how many times in our lives that there is a plan against us that the enemy has instilled in someone or just circumstances around us, and God intervenes on our behalf through circumstances, through individuals, and sometimes we don't even realize it. So God obviously intervenes here. As Chad shared with you yesterday, that nephew just so happened to be Paul's nephew, just so happened to be in the right place at the right time. That's not coincidence. As Christians, we call those God moments. And so God intervened and he continues. So let's see what happens here in chapter 23, verse 23. Then he called, and that means the commander, called 2 of his centurions and ordered them, get ready a detachment of 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 tonight. Provide mounts for Paul so that he may be taken safely to Governor Felix. And he wrote a letter as follows. So he didn't just send him with a couple people. He took this seriously and had a huge amount of individuals going with him to protect him. So here's the letter that he wrote that went along with Paul. It says, Claudius Lysis, to His Excellency Governor Felix, greetings. This man was seized by the Jews, and they were about to kill him. But I came with my troops and rescued him, for I had learned that he was a Roman citizen. I wanted to know what they were accusing him of, so I brought him to the Sanhedrin. I found that the accusation had to do with questions about their law. Now notice what he's saying. It's not nothing to do with his law, their law, but there was no charge against him that deserved death or imprisonment. When I was informed of a plot to be carried out against this man, I sent him to you at once. I also ordered his accusers to present to you their case against him. He's kind of washing his hands of this a little bit and separating himself from the situation. I don't think he wants any of the guilt or blood on his hands that could come from this. So the soldiers, carrying out their orders, took Paul with them during the night and brought him as far as Antipatris. The next day, they let the cavalry go on with him while they returned to the barracks. When the cavalry arrived at Caesarea, they delivered the letter to the governor and handed Paul over to him. The governor read the letter and asked what province he was from, learning that he was from Sicilia. He said, I will hear your case when your accusers get here. Then he ordered that Paul be kept under guard in Herod's place. Now, Paul had been told that he would suffer for the cause of Christ, and he knew that. And we've seen several times already through the books of Acts, the book of Acts, where God has intervened, but Paul has still been beaten, he's still been stoned, but he also had faith in God and knew that he would be not necessarily protected physically, but he knew that God would carry him through this and be with him. And he understood the cause, and he understood the bigger picture, the bigger plan, and that if God allowed certain things to happen, he had a certain faith and trust in God that things would turn out okay and be according to his will. He just knew he had to do his part. Now, this last week, if you listened to Pastor's sermon, he talked about God and a specific name of God that is my favorite name of God. And it is when Moses was told to go rescue the Israelites. Moses asks God, this is during the moment of the burning bush. He asks God, well, who do I tell them sent me? And God says, tell them, I am that I am. I am has sent you. And the reason that name is so wonderful and beautiful to me is because God is ... He is, and in the Bible there's so many different names. There is Adonai. There is where he is our master, Nissi, where he is my banner. There is Rapha, my healer. And a lot of times we use the name Jehovah before, but Pastor Mark's going to share a little bit more with you about what Jehovah means and a different name that is more realistic. So you'll have to listen this next week about that. But another is Jehovah Tzidkenu, which means my righteousness. Jehovah Jireh, God will provide. But there is a name for me, was Jehovah Shammah. God is there. There was a certain time frame in my life where I didn't have a strong father figure. But now as an adult, when I look back over those several years, all the way up into my teenage years, God put certain men, good, righteous men, in my life in the most unusual, unpredictable ways. And about the time I would go through a transition in life, and that man would disappear, whether it was a boss or someone from some weird area, another man would come into my life in a good, strong way. And God provided good father figures through these men throughout my life. And I look back and I see that God was always there, my father. So, and I look at times where I've needed a healer. I look at times where I needed his banner to be over me. So when I hear the name of God as I am, I love that name because he is who we need him to be in those moments. And God needed to be there for Paul. And he was a righteousness and a banner over him. And so my take on this today is for you to look at where God has been for you as the great I am in your life. No matter what you need, he always sees the bigger picture, and he knows exactly what you need, and he knows how to be sufficient for you during that. So if you're willing to see some of those most lonely or anxious-ridden or scary or joyful moments, you will see that God has been the great I am to you and for you through that. So I hope this message blesses you today, and God is everything you need him to be. He is. God bless you.